Alright, so I am back, and today we are going to be doing another rant of the week. There it is. And, so there's going to be a few rants of the week that are going to be kind of like this. You can see some Iron Man in the background. Just because. And these are just, it's kind of like a wish list. More than anything. So if any third-party companies are out there, or anybody that knows any third-party companies out there, maybe drop them a line of things I think that should be done. So first off, before we get into it, I got two honorable mentions for things that are just a little old to do now. It would have been nice, and I know some of the things I'm gonna say. There have been upgrades done, but on like Shapeways, which I haven't really had too much experience with the Shapeways stuff, except for that Dinobot, which was pretty awesome. And the I think it's Renderform or one of those guys who. It seems like every time they announce that they're doing something, like I don't see any pre-orders come up, and then when I hear that, oh yeah, this is out, here's where you can buy it, it's always gone. Like the new Optimus head for Orion, I never even had a chance to get it, and the next thing I know, they were going for like $50, and I wasn't going to spend $50 for a head. And stuff like that. It's just kind of like by the time I found out they were there, they were gone, and I hardly ever saw them on Big Bad Toy Store. And the stuff that is on Big Bad Toy Store, it's like gun for who was it? I can't even remember. But it's like a gun for the blue version of, I can't even remember now. Oh, one of the exclusive blue tanks that was made from the Revenge of the Fallen bludgeon mold. And it's just kind of like, one, that mold is that color scheme for that mold is hard to get because I think it was one of the exclusives, and two, it's like that's the only one that's there. It's like I don't want it because I didn't ever wanted the character, and I never wanted to spend the BotCon prices, which are worse than third-party prices. A whole nother rant on that one earlier. Anyway, so I know, like I said, I know that some of these have been done. But I just would like to see a more mass release. Shapeways is great for those that know how to, like, I guess sand and paint. I'm going to be getting some Shapewave kits here soon so I can play with them. But the main thing is that it's just like it needs to be more of a mass release, and also painted, because Shapeway's not painted. So it's like, So anyway, honorable mentions. Heads for the TFC Superions. I know SXX did the Superion head, which looked awesome. That no issues there. But when it comes to TFC Superion, there's always, everyone's got their own opinion on that. But some of the jets I thought looked great. The bot modes looked good enough. For the most part, I thought they were all pretty decent. Little update, little Neo, I'm fine with it. But the heads were so far off the mark on some of them that I was just like, you can't even tell that it was supposed to be said character. And I was just like, except for, I think Silverbolt was all right. But it's like, I would have really liked to see full, just brand new heads for all of them that just looked exactly like the G1 counterpart. I think that would have been perfect. And the other one, upgrades for the Fans Project bugs, the Ninja bugs. There's a kit on Shapeways. That's what I'm actually going to be picking up at some point to play around with it and see if I can see how well I can make those things look. But yeah, ultimately it's like nobody did upgrades for them. And I just sat there, it's like, why not? I mean, and here's what really bugged me was the fact that, no pun, but Fans Project did the Armored Battalion, and the Armored Battalion had all the upgrades that I would have wanted, but for the Armored Battalion. It's like the Chop Shop had the big wings on the back, like Shrapnel should have had. You know, the Bombshell had the appropriate headset, or the, what was it, Barrage? I think it was Barrage. I think that was his name. Had the appropriate head, or the head mount, and then the and then they all came with the rifles, and it's just like, why couldn't they just release that in the colors for the regular Insecticons, and also the heads, except for the Bombshell one. That head was awesome. I think I have him, a broken one right here. Like this head is, that's exactly what I want, you know, that kind of head. I think that looks great, but I have no issues. But it's like this, it grows on you having this big piece on the back here like this, but it's also, it's like I would have preferred more G1 look. Anyway, my point is it would have been nice to have upgrade kits. The reason why these are just honorable mentions rather than actually on my list is because it's been too long for it to be that relevant anymore. Most of the people that collected the Fans Project bugs have moved up to MP, and now they have these bugs, you know, or the Bad Cube versions. So it's like we don't need those sets anymore. So I know some people just don't need it anymore, and then hopefully they'll do a kickback in the Legend scale, because these are pretty close too. But it's irrelevant, and same goes with the TFC Superion, because I think Toy World. I saw a rumor somewhere that Toy World's doing Superion and Bruticus. So, it's like, okay, if you got the TFC Superion, you're probably going to replace it with a Toy World version. And if not, you've already replaced it with the Combiner Wars version, because that was the best one out of the set. Preferably the Unite Warriors. But it's just, they're so old, it's just kind of like irrelevant. I just wanted to mention it. And then I have a Pipe Dream one. It's complete, total Pipe Dream. But the Deluxe Waspinator. I would love to get an upgrade kit for the Deluxe Waspinator that has like clear Starscream parts, like the X-Transbot Scourge does, where he's got the wings that kind of stick off the back, and the shoulders, and the Starscream head. I think that would make my day. I know it's never going to happen, because there's probably about 12 of us in this world that would actually buy it, but it would be really awesome. I'm just saying, I might try and find one of those Ghost Starscreams, deluxe class ones, and see if I can cannibalize it into a Waspinator. Alright, so let's go on my list of upgrades I think should be done relatively soon. And this is my top 10 list here, and it's in no particular order whatsoever. So number 1, weapons. I would love to get a pack of weapons. I don't care what they look like, as long as they function and they look like guns, or guns, knives, swords, maces. I mean, they can do so many different sets of these, and they would sell. I can promise you they would sell, because everyone has the same problem. It's like, okay, I'm trying to find a Combiner Wars in Reach. There's not. But it's like half the Combiner Wars stuff came with those big, ridiculous looking guns, or these stupid like sword gun things like Drag Strip has. It's just like, that just looks so stupid, absolutely ridiculous. We're gonna leave him over here, because I gotta, it's like, I think Brindiform did guns for them too, but it's like, again, it was one of those, like, I think I saw it once at the TF Con, and that was the last time I've heard of it. So who knows what happened with that. I should have bought it. It was like $15 or something like that. Although I would have sold it by now, and now I would be kicking myself. But it's like, stuff like that. It's like I wish they would have come up with, more, weapons. And they don't have to be like, oh, these have to be for the stunticons. Just be like, here's a 10-pack of random rifles. Here's a 10-pack of random pistols. Here's a 10-pack of knives. Here's a 10-pack of swords, axes, maces. Just sell them in packs and a couple different molds. It does, it could be repeat. They could make like 3 or 4 molds and just reuse them. I think everyone would be fine with guns like that, just recycled. And it would just be so cool to be able to be like, oh, you know what? I just got the new Unite Warriors set. I want to play them, put them in bot mode, but their guns just suck because it's either, let's say it's Minnesota. Oh, yeah, these guys have pipes, or exhaust pipes, and I really wish they had pistols. It'd be cool to be like, oh, I'm at Big Bad Toy Store. Click purchase pack of pistols. Anyway, okay, moving on. I thought it'd be cool. 2 heads for the upcoming headmasters. And I know that sounds really weird, but hear me out on this. Like the Scourge and the Blur, for what they are, the figures look pretty good. I'm not gonna say that they're like better than Masterpiece by any means, but they look pretty good for what they are. The problem I have with them is the fact that they're not headmasters, and they made them headmasters. Let's take the Galvatron as the best example of this. His head just looks goofy. The rest of it, neck down, looks like a pretty decent Galvatron. I'm definitely going to pick it up. He may or may not become my Galvatron for my shelf. I'm looking for a Unique Toys one again. So I'm wanting that to replace, or that one to sit on my shelf, but this one I'll definitely pick it up, and if it's great, awesome, then I won't have to pick up the Unique Toys one. Anyway, but it would be cool if somebody would make just regular heads that could plug in like a headmaster that doesn't have any gimmicks to it. They'll probably have to be disconnected for transformation, maybe. I don't know. I haven't played with them yet. That'd be kind of cool if you didn't have to take the head off, but it would be cool if somebody made alternate heads for these guys that you can plug in, and it's a standard head. I think that would sell pretty well, and I know I would buy some. Number 3, gap fillers for Combiner Wars figures. Now, this is one of those ones where you'd have to take it off every time you transform the figure. But let's take this guy, for example. So unlike most other Combiner Wars, he doesn't have big, horrible gaps in his legs. He does still have them in the forearms. So if somebody were to make like, just a little piece that you plug in there, fill in the gap. It would also be kind of cool. Now hear me out on this. If somebody made a chest piece for him, something small. It doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be extravagant. Something you just plug in. Maybe port it into the 4 screw holes, so you can just cover up this combiner port and cover up the 4 screw holes. Just one piece that just clicks on. And that would change his figure from being, he's okay, to, all right, that's a pretty good drag strip. It's still a Combiner Wars drag strip, but I think it would definitely make the figure better. Now, how much is one willing to spend on, gap fillers like that? Yeah, that's kind of up to everyone else, but and it depends on the cost of the upgrade kit, because if it's like Perfect Effect, where it's like some insane amount of money, like the Superion, which was like, what, $35 for the little chest piece and the head, and it's just like, this is not worth $35 or whatever it was. It's like, this is like $10. So it's like, that would be a major factor, I would imagine, like how much they would charge for it. But, if it was a decent price and it looked good, I think they would probably sell quite a bit. Especially if they found a way to keep it super super close to the chest, so you don't have to take it off for transformation. You still would have to take off the forearm bits, but and the critical part here though on this is don't make it transform. Don't make it do anything. Just take it off and set it to the side if you're going to transform it. I don't want to spend more money to make the gap fillers plug into the chest piece so it could become a giant shield for Minosaur. I don't want that. I just want a piece that clicks on and you're done. That's it. Anyway, moving on. Number 4. New heads for some Combiner Wars figures. So back to the Combiner Wars figures. It's like, they recycled. Yeah, I've given them so much of a hard time. Don't get me wrong. It's still, a lot of it still really irritates me because they recycled some of the molds so many times that you're just sitting there. It's like, it's like, I don't want to buy that figure again. But it is what it is. So let's make the most of it, is my thoughts. So the Blast Off figure. There we go. Stupid light. Okay, so the Blast Off figure is essentially just Slingshot, the exclusive hard to find figure, repainted brown. And the face is identical to Quickslinger. Nothing new there. So I'm going to try and get a Fireflight and repaint the head so that it has the at least the visor and stuff. That would be more of a Blast Off head. Now, so here, it's like, yeah, he's got the gun. It looks all right. But, a couple pistols would be nice. Again, going back to gap fillers. Just little things you can plug in. Maybe something that can click here and go down here, like on the leg. Just give it a little bit more weight down there. I don't know. Stuff like that. But anyway, I know Takara is making their Blast Off figure, but I like this Blast Off. I've always said this. If I had a choice on Blast Off, he'd be a jet, not a space shuttle. Space shuttle makes no sense in the Combaticons. For me, it did not ever make sense. As a kid, it's like a Jeep, a tank, a truck, a helicopter, and a spaceship. I would have much rather been a jet. So I'm actually pretty happy with this figure, just not the head. So if somebody were to make a new head for this, that would be pretty cool. Just a regular Blast Off head that looks exactly the same colors and stuff. I think that would be pretty cool. I would buy it in a heartbeat. I know I'm not the only one that prefers the jet over space shuttle when it comes to Bruticus, because I know a lot of people like to have their figures scale in alt mode, and a space shuttle does not scale with the Jeep. Never. Nowhere in this world would it do that. Fans Project had the best idea, where it was one of those drones. The Blast Off, their Blast Off was a drone, and that's why it didn't have windows. It's because it was a drone, and drones can be fairly small, so it fits in with the scale of the rest of the figure. So anyway, some new heads, like this drag strip. His head's all right, but not quite G1 enough. So if somebody were to get a more G1 looking head and put that on there with those gap filler parts and the new chest piece, I think we'd have a pretty good looking drag strip. All right. Number 5, new hips for Brawl, because Brawl, I keep having to get up and get these things. This will be the last time. Alright. Again, the light. Alright, so Brawl has this funky hip section here that doesn't quite plug in, and it's just kind of a floppy mess. So it'd be kind of cool if maybe somebody would come around with just a piece that would click in there to fill in this gap and help lock it into place. Very simple. Yeah, it would have to be removed for transformation. Very simple, but I think it would definitely help make it look a lot better. And also, while we're on the topic of Brawl, throw in an extra pistol so that his gun could stay on the back, because this is how I like Brawl to look, with the turret on or the barrel actually on the turret, not in his hand, because he always had that sticking up over his shoulder. Or his back. I always like that look better than him holding it. So, so new waist piece, new gun. That'd be awesome. Now I'm gonna go have to find him another gun. Alright, hands and feet for the Combiner Wars combiners. Now I know Perfect Effect did them, and they're all right. The problem I have with them is the fact that they transform. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to make it so that it turns into something else for whatever you want it. Guns, giant mini guns, or other guns, maybe a rifle, mini guns. Yeah, that's all I did. It's like they made one and then retooled it for the next. Or they did one, they repainted it a bunch of times, and then they retooled it or made a whole new mold, just made it look or function exactly the same, and then repainted a bunch of times. And it's just kind of like, one, it works, but it's not as ideal for a lot of people. I know a lot of people had the issue. I don't have the real issue with the feet, but some people had the issue where when you're plugging them in, the feet would come undone, so you'd have to kind of like finagle it while you're working on it, and it's like it did become an issue at times for stability, because here we've got this big slight okay, not that big, but it wasn't a very tight tolerance on those plugs that were holding them together. So even the light Combiner Wars figures were still pulling those pieces apart. And the hands, a lot of people complain were a little bit long and spindly, kind of like skeletal hands. And, again, I didn't have much of a problem with it. It's noticeable. It would, I always had mine like this, so it kind of fanned out a little bit better. But I would prefer just big chunky hands. I think that would have worked a lot better. So, what I'm saying here, what I would like to see instead of that is just feet. They don't do anything else. They just plug into the bottom of the combiner. And that's it. And hands. They just plug into the bottom of the combiner, and that's it. Nothing special, nothing fancy, and it would be also extra cool, like, it would take a little bit more engineering, but we're going to use Blast Off as an example here. So you third-party guys, take notes on what would probably work better. So turn him into the leg mode real quick. But it'd be cool if the feet, rather than just had a 5mm port that plugged into the bottom, it'd be cool if the 5mm port would come up to like a clasp that you could click around the bottom, that would kind of like send pieces around here and around here that would just kind of click in, and then that would just help hold it all together and kind of thicken up the ankles a little bit, and then you'd have like a nice, maybe not in ball joint. Well, if you do a ball joint, go with like the Pharaoh Rex ball joint with the big ball joint, so it doesn't look too goofy, or do like a big swivel, ratcheted swivel and a ratcheted hinge going forward, like the TFC Predacons did, only actually make it work rather than make it come apart. Again, they had the same issues as Combiner Wars, where they're trying to utilize the feet for things other than feet. They turn into cannons. It's like, I know a lot of people like that, but if you compare that Predaking to stability wise to the Unique Toys Predaking and the MMC Predaking. Those two Unique Toys of MMC blew TFC out of the water because their feet don't fall apart. They don't split apart to become cannons. It's something that I find as an issue, and I wish that we would just get a foot plate. You know, if it's just a plug-in foot plate, fine. If it wraps around and like helps hold this together, you know, like a big claw, you know, that would be a little bit more ideal. You know, maybe just or maybe even like, because like this will come down here like this. So maybe just a piece that would come up here, and you got these two little plugs right here. Maybe something that could plug in there or something. Or reach around and plug into the back of the hand. You know, just plug it. And then you can fold that over and kind of hide the pole. You know, something that would help stabilize it a little bit better. And then same goes with the arm. You know, if we go to arm mode here real quick, you know, just it would actually be exactly the same, just a little bit lower down. But yeah, just have it plug into like these little vents here, and the hand could just plug in there and have a big ratcheted swivel or something. And the fingers don't have to be individually articulated, you know, to an insane degree, but, you know, maybe TFC Hercules style, you know, something like that. So, yeah, there's my thought on that. I always thought that would have been a better use, or more useful for Combiner Wars than the Perfect Effect ones, because honestly, you know, they're thinking in terms of toy. You know, playability on the figure, and I know a lot of people think that that's important to them, but ultimately, when you get the Bruticus put together and you put them up on the shelf, how many times are you going to take it apart and transform it? I know some people will, but not all people. A lot of people are like, that's my Bruticus. He's just going to be there. I might take him down and pose him around a little bit, but he's not going to come apart. And at the price of Hasbro, a lot of times people will just buy a second set, just to have the bot modes already in bot mode. That's what a lot of people do. I know not everybody, but that's my opinion. That's what I think. That's what I'd like to see. Number 7, a new head for Warbitron Bruticus. Okay, now I had the Warbitron Bruticus. I like the figure. I thought he was good. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's he was great. I wouldn't put him in my top tier of combiners. I think there are other combiners have pulled it off a little bit better than he did. My reasoning around that is because it's Warbitron, so a lot of things had stress marks. You know, the fact that you have to you almost have to replace all the pieces to blast off to make him actually function as a figure, which is really unfortunate. I mean, the plastic was so cheap on the first run of him, and it was just like, I was so disappointed. I hated that. I absolutely hated that. So it's like, and I know some people just absolutely loved it, but it's like, but the big thing for me is the head. Because that head was not Bruticus. That was not the Bruticus I remember as a kid. That's not the Bruticus I remember seeing in the comics or the original toy. Somebody please make a new head for that thing that looks like G1 Bruticus, because that's what that set is missing more than anything else. You know, well, it's better tolerance plastic. I'm not knocking on Bruticus. I think that I thought the Warbitron set was good. It had issues, but it was good. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew it. He's not my all-time favorite combiner, but the head is what actually made me decide to sell it, because nobody was doing an upgrade kit for the head. Nobody seemed interested in doing an upgrade kit for the head, and I was just like, I don't like the way this head looks. I don't like the little folding antenna. Nothing about it set well with me, to the point where it's like, you know what, he's gone. I'm gonna just sell him. So a new head for that, I think a lot of people like me would appreciate that. Yeah. All right, let's see. Number 8. Oh, the next two kind of go together. Number 8 would be new swords for the MMC Predacons. We've got a gun upgrade kit that actually looks like the G1 guns. Works perfectly. I need to get that again. I loved it. It was great. But no swords. I think they teased doing swords, but I never saw them come out. I would love to see G1 style swords for the Predacons. For the MMC Predacons. I think that would be great. The reasoning for that is that while some of their swords are decent, or daggers or knives or whatever they are, some of them are to the point where it's like almost unfunctional. I've got my Predaking up there on display now. He does not have his big sword because I don't like that thing. I don't like it. I don't like that sword at all. I know some people loved it, but for me, it's not for me. So I would love to see G1 style swords for it, including the big sword, which is actually my number 9, a big sword for him too, and not that crazy Devi one, because that was just their G1 Predaking sword. That was a big sword that they repackaged for this. So he actually doesn't hold it very well. It's just the regular one. I had that one with my G1 my G1 Predaking, which, I mean, the whole set was a mess. All their upgrades for it was a mess. And you plug in an extra bit to the bottom of the sword, and when I did that, it just split that whole extra bit. Now, the problem with that was that he couldn't hold that sword with the bit unless you have the fully articulated hands. The fully articulated hands then would not hold the sword if it didn't have the extra bit, and so mine broke, so I couldn't use it. And this is pretty much the same kind of thing. His hands are not designed to actually physically hold something. They're supposed to be plugging in. So I'd like to see something that would plug into his hand that would actually go into just the big broadsword that he had. Actually, in the cartoons, I think it was an energy sword. But that's what I would like to see with the Predacons. I would love to see a new upgrade kit for the swords. And I would also like, the final part of number 9 is the big gun for the Predaking. For the MMC Predaking and Unique Toys Predaking, they both had the same issue, and same with like TFC Hercules and TFC, I think, no, not the Superion, not so much. But I absolutely hate it when guns click together and form a bigger gun. It never seems to play out. Something suffers from it somewhere down the line. The individual guns look okay. I would prefer G1 guns, but together it forms that big kind of mess looking gun. I don't like it myself. It's not something I prefer. I said that in the big war video back then, that it's like, it's okay, it works, it's not my ideal. The TFC did it the best because it's just a big gun that you plug on. Their sword worked the best, although it looked horrible. No, their swords click together too. Unique Toys had the best sword because that was just a big sword that he'd hold, and it just looked awesome. It was not that big broadsword like G1, but it looked so much better. I'm not a fan of those kind of big swords that kind of spikes going everywhere, and anyway. So yeah. But yeah, I would like to see a new blaster for him too. I think that'd be pretty cool. I know they made claws. I'd like to see some more claws. The Professor Heisenberg stuff, it's just like, I can't get. It's like I want them, but it's like I just can't get them. When they're in stock, I didn't have the Predaking, so I was focusing on getting Predaking. And when they're out of stock, I have the Predaking, and now I can't get them. Anyway. And the final one that I'd like to see is an upgrade kit for Combiner Wars. leader class Armada Megatron. He does a good job looking like Armada Megatron to an extent. There are certain things about him that don't quite work well. So I would like to see, maybe something that would be able to have a removable cannon from the arm so that it just plugs to the side, because he never had the cannon on the arm. I would like to see him have knives. I can't remember if he had a knife or not. I don't think he did. But I'd like to see him have a knife. And most importantly, though, I think it was Leader 1. Yeah, Leader 1, the little mini-con that he came with. I want to see a mini-con that you could have with him that it can form into a gun. Maybe we could even go a little bit more extreme. The Sky Boom Shield, I think it was, the Star Saber, and the Requiem Blaster. It'd be cool if the upgrade kit came with all of those, and they were mini cons that actually transformed into, triple changers. That'd be really awesome. Or maybe just be the big Sky Boom Shield, for example. Just have the Sky Boom Shield. Doesn't have to transform. Something like that. That would be really cool to see for a figure like that. Because it would actually make it look more like the Armada version of it, rather than just a green repaint of the G1 Megatron that was never a tank. So anyway, so there's my 10 suggestions of what I would like to see from third-party companies, obviously, for upgrade kits. I know upgrade kits are kind of getting old, but I think they would get some sales with some of these. The Predaking ones, some people, like I said, some people just leave them in combined mode and they don't care about what the individual swords look like. And that's fine. But for me, I'm going to end up taking them apart and do individual modes. I have to take him apart soon, don't I? Yes, I do. Because I got the Nero Rex coming and I want to do a full review of each figure. Anyway, yeah, that's it. What do you guys think? What would you like to see upgraded? And hopefully work won't get crazy and I'll be able to actually do a response video next week rather than a while down the road.